Hey everybody, how's it going? Okay, so this is a story called The Freedom Fighters of Brampton, or not The Freedom Fighters of Brampton, but also it's called My First Love and My First Beach. Whatever. You'll know what beach means in a second. So I'm from Brampton. No surprise. Oh, people are from Brampton? Okay, cool. But what is weird is that I was actually the first brown guy in Brampton. I was the first brown guy for miles, right? And when I was a kid, it was super racist, and these kids would call me a Paki, right? It's awful. So I'd go home and tell my dad, I was like, Dad, let's go fuck these guys up. This is bullshit, right? And my dad has real problems. He's not gonna whatever, right? So my dad would be like I'd tell my dad, this guy's coming back. My dad would be like, Dad, I'm from India. Maybe they don't know. And I'm like, these guys aren't like, hey, go home, you fucking Paki. And then I'm gonna say, oh, actually, we're from India. And then they're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. How rude. That's awful. We take it all back. You know what I mean? But anyway, he was always very laid back about these things. He's never he's always don't be a hero. And I remember this. My mom's I thought it was my grandma, but it was actually my mom's older sister. No, okay, because my mom has 5 brothers and 5 sisters, and if you have and my mom's the youngest, so her mom after you have 9 kids, you just go just you fucking do it. Her mom just made her oldest sister the mom, whatever, right? So she lived with us, and she was senile, she was whatever, and these kids in the neighborhood would just come right up to her and be like, oh, they would make fun of her, and she was senile, so she didn't know. So she would be like, oh, okay, thank you, okay, good. Look, they have respect. She would get mad at us. And then I'd tell my dad, I was like, Dad, we gotta, fuck these guys, what the fuck, right? And my dad, even then, my dad would be like, oh, don't burst the bubble, let her think whatever, right? And he always had this laid-back attitude. My mom's side would try to tell me, your grandfather fought with Gandhi. He marched with Gandhi and he got hit in his ear and he lost his hearing, whatever. And they tried to tell me his epic stories, but he fought for India, whatever. And my dad would be behind them whatever, they're full of shit. My dad, my mom and dad don't like each other. It's fucked up, right? But they just stay together because they're brown and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So anyway, he always had this thing of listen, don't work so hard. Your mom's family has money, but they're miserable. And my dad's family has nothing. They're $300,000 in debt. They have negative money, and they're just the coolest, happiest people. They just talk people into giving them more and more money. It's weird, right? So anyway, it was a super trashy neighborhood. So just to give you a level of an idea of how trashy it was, our neighbors, we weren't perfect either. We didn't mow the lawn, right? Whatever. And neighbors would get mad at us, hey, you gotta do that. It's not India. Or they would just say awful shit, right? And so my family, my sisters and my dad were okay, fuck these guys, we're not gonna do it now. And but the thing is that it's a true story. We wouldn't mow the lawn, whatever. The neighbors' daughters would proper molest me. Okay, that sounds awful, right? It's not their fault. Their moms were it was strippers and fucking bikers and shit in the neighborhood. All the parents, right? And these girls would pull me into a garage or pull me into a thing and or into a backyard, and they'd pull their pants and be you like that? They would just do stuff like that to me. And I was just oh, I don't know, whatever, right? And then they'd be now you have to show us yours. Show us your dick. They would make me, and I just remember hearing my dad, this is so fucked up, I know, but I just remember hearing my dad's voice, I didn't care, I was yeah, just show it to them, whatever, it's fine, it's not a big deal, I didn't, it was grade 2, and this is the fucked up, this is grade 2, this is happening, right? And it's, so that's how trash your neighborhood is. Our neighborhood is it's the worst neighborhood, and I wish I could say we lived there, because we were poor, but it's just because my mom was so cheap, my mom would hide money from my dad and from us. She would just hide money, and she was a pro at it. Someone was mentioning Golden Girls earlier, and I still remember this old episode of Golden Girls where they get robbed, and the robber found their jewels in the freezer inside of a box or something. And me and my sisters and the Golden Girls were all oh my God, how'd they find out? And my mom was you are stupid. My mom's such a pro, she was doing construction to hide shit, right? And she wouldn't tell us, and she's not a liar, but have you ever met someone who, they lied to themselves already, and now they're telling you their truth. Like, she was like that. Like, she never lied to us. In her head, we didn't have she didn't even know we had the money. Like, she hid it, and then she forgot. And then, like, it would just come out in weird, but we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, so here's an example of, like, what we would do. We would, and this is a bit of a defined story, too. Like, I remember my mom would find these sales. It was crazy. It was not. She wasn't saving money. It was like an OCD for money. It was like an OCD. And like when you ever confronted her about it, like you're being too cheap, she would tell you these like stories of like, I've seen poverty with my eyes. You don't know poverty, right? And I was like, oh my God, that's awful. And then like eventually I realized that like she's seen poverty, but she's never even been poor. This is like a 2-generation pass down of like weird money OCD. Like her parents did the same thing with her. She's never been poor either. She's just like crazy. It's like a crazy condition or something, right? So anyway, she would find these sales of like, so we were in Brampton. She would find these like jumbo tide, like $2.99 limit 4 per customer, right? She would drive me and my sisters out to like wherever this was, like Scarborough or something. Like, we would spend $20 in gas to save, like, $2 on Tide. It was crazy. So we'd go out there, and she would just put us all in separate lines. Like, I'm 7 years old, 8 years old. And I'm just like, yeah, I need 8 jumbo Tides, whatever, right? And we'd do 2 rounds. She would do 2 fucking rounds. This woman had the audacity, right? And I remember one day, there was one, like, confrontation that happened where we're doing a second round of, like, jumbo Tides. And, like, the people are murmuring, like, oh, these guys from she's abusing her kids, and they're these Indian people. I don't know, like they're so cheap, or I don't even know, like there's like murmurs or whatever. And the manager like looks at me like dude, you know, like I gotta like he's looking at me like dude, I gotta answer to someone, you know, like I have a manager, and like he didn't say that because I was like 7, but he gave me this look, right? And then I looked at him like, dude, I fucking live with her. Take the fucking money, all right? Don't give me that. I didn't say it. I mean, I was 7, right? But it was like we had this weird little confrontation, and then my mom, I don't know, she like lost it. That she did like you don't know the poverty I've seen, and like she did this whole fucking dramatic whatever. And I just remember this manager, just like this middle-aged dude, just being like, I'm sorry, ma'am. How many do you want? Like, just take all of it. Like, we just took like a skit of fucking jumbo Tide. It's ridiculous. So, okay. So anyway, that's all backstory. So this is the first love of my life. It was grade 2. So the way to get to school to my house. So imagine this is the school. You go through a catwalk, and then the street goes like this, and then this is my house, right? So there's the short way. And the short way was on the corner, there was like these kids who were calling me a Paggy. They were like, you're not fucking allowed to walk home this way, whatever, right? So I started walking home the other way, and, we weren't the freedom fighters, whatever. So I started walking home the other way, and I met, like, the love of my life. It was, like, this little girl. Her name was, her little girl named Heather, and we would walk, like, initially we would walk kind of close to each other, and then we'd get closer and closer, and then our hands would touch. And then she just took me into her house, and to this day, I'm like, God bless white people. Because like, I still can't tell my parents I'm dating someone. In grade 2, this girl would just take me around and be like, this is my boyfriend, and we hang out, and like whatever. And like, she just had like liberal parents like, oh, that's Heather's boyfriend, whatever. Like, they were cool. And like, she would do stuff too. Like, it was weird. It was so weird, like, the stuff, I don't know, whatever. Like, we were kissing, I don't know, whatever. But, so anyway, we would do this, and I remember one day, her brothers were, like, trying to be like, oh, fuck this guy, like they were trying to, like, block me from going in, and they were, like, calling me Paggy, whatever. And she, like, was upstairs in the window, and she looked out, she's like, hey, that's my boyfriend, and I love him! You leave him alone! And, like, she came out with her mom, they got in so much trouble, like, just, like, the sweet, like, liberal mom was like, no, you can't do that, whatever. And so I ended up and my parents, again, so fucking cheap. I never had like a babysitter. I'm not complaining. Like I liked it. I actually enjoyed it like that. Like I had babysitters and I hated it. So I was like, I just want to be home alone. But after a while, like I would just go hang out with this girl for hours and then just go home when my mom got home and nobody knew. Like for years, like for like that year, I guess, but nobody knew, right? And so what happened was like we loved each other. It was so much fun. Every day we'd hang out, whatever. And then my mom like wanted to move away. I'm like, Mom, you're you're so cheap. You just want to move away because of money. I don't know, whatever. Like, I just was like so mad that she wanted to move away. And someone was doing construction in the back of our house, and there was like a big thing that like was important for the construction. I don't know, it was a big piece of styrofoam, and I was taking Taekwondo at the time, and I was mad at my mom, so I started doing my little ha, ha, like I just broke the fucking thing. And I remember like the contractor was at our house, and the contractor's telling us like, that's like $500, and like, I'll put a lien on your head. Like, I don't know, they just got into a big argument, whatever. And like, remember how I was saying and my dad's like, we don't have the money, dude. Like, we'll get it to you. Don't worry about it. Like, my dad's trying to calm the guy down. And like, remember how I was saying to my mom, like, it's like she lied to herself, and then she's telling you the truth. Like, for the whole conversation, she's like, we don't have money. What are we gonna do? Whatever. And then like, he's talking about putting a lien on the house, and my mom just clicks and goes, oh, wait a minute. Like, she just like goes and pulls out a stack of money from like behind a wall or whatever, and just pays this guy off. So anyway. That's Act 1. We moved away. Years later, right? These Christian groups would try to convert me. This is like years later. Okay, so like years later, like it was like they were racially profiling me. They were like, oh, this guy's brown, he's probably not, whatever. And they'd come after me with these groups of like Christian, like they'd be like, hey man, we're all just gonna hang out. Like they were like Friends crews. You know what I mean? Like 2 guys, 2 girls, and that was like my dream, because Friends was really big at the time. Or like Beverly Hills 90210, like I was like, oh, this is like amazing, right? I could be part of this Friends crew. I could be like the token brown guy or whatever, right? And they would try to convert me like this, and I was always like, these guys are like fucking like as a Hindu, I feel like we've never like we don't care. You know what I mean? Like here's what I find Jews like here's what I love about Jews. Let me say this. Okay, Jews and Hindus, we don't need you to be us. Like we're good. You know what I mean? Like we don't care. Like okay, just do your whatever. Christians are like practicing. They're like high pressure sales reps in like the most intense organization. Like they're like trying to like we gotta get people. Like we gotta everyone has to be us or whatever, right? So they're trying to convert me, and like I feel like the only good leads left are in Africa, because in Africa it's like you could just go to a guy who's like starving or something, and be like, hey man, do you believe in Jesus? And the guy would be like, no, I have my own whatever. And then you could just be like, oh, that's too bad because we got all this food back at the church, you know? I don't know what we're going to do with it. I don't know what we're going to They did that with me with sex. Like, I'm like a horny 15-year-old, and they're just like, hey, man, you wanna hang out with these girls? And, you know, we're all just going to hang out, whatever. We do stuff together. And I was like, nah, man, that's weird. Sunday? No, I'm good. I'm Hindu. Like, oh, that's too bad, man. It's the hot girls. And so, like, I started hanging out with them. And one of the reason I started hanging out with them is because one of them, their name was Heather, like my Heather that I loved as a child. As a child, I loved her, right? So I started hanging out with these people. It gets a little awful. So like I started hanging out with them, and it was like a high pressure sales thing. It was like we'd fool around a bit, and she's like, hey, but you're cool with Jesus, right? And I'm like, yeah, totally, yeah, let's keep going. And like we'd keep going like that, and like. You know, you just keep on, like, it was like a long time, like 6-8 months. Like, I kept fooling around, I kept going further, whatever. And then, like, finally, like, I got the beach. I got it. And like, I kept telling her, yeah, I'm cool, I'm gonna convert, whatever. And like, have you ever, like, you know when you, like, I really did want to convert. Can I just say that? I really did. I really, liked her, and I really was, like, thinking about it. I was, like, into Jesus and stuff. I was reading about it. I was, like, down with them. Like, I was cool, right? And, like, have you ever, like come and then you come to your senses, like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like I did, right? And then this thing kicked in me where I was like, well, wait a minute, why don't you convert to Hindu? Like you convert, God damn it. And then she was like, okay, all right, fine, I'll try that then or whatever, right? And I remember just being like they were on top of their shit, the Christians. They had everything ready to go. You want to convert? Like, let's go. We got a guy, whatever. It's like, just sign right here. And I remember being like, oh, you want to convert to Hindu? I don't even have the paperwork for that. I don't even know which department handles that. Like, that's a whole other, you know what I mean? Like, I remember I went and talked to gurus about it, and I was like, how do I convert her? And I remember they were like, oh, all religions are a different path to God. I was like, oh, that's beautiful, right? And then I was like, wait, do we just not want them? And he's like, we don't, we're good. we don't fucking want them. Anyway, Yeah, that's I think that's my story, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. You guys are a fantastic crowd.